All right. Thank you so much to Helen for allowing me to critique this. And she is off to a great start. I love her underpainting. It almost looks like it's glowing. And it really is very hard to move on from this stage because often the first layer looks so beautiful, just like Helen's does. So I feel your pain. But probably the main thing I want you to notice in what is the most obvious thing to add if you squint your eyes at the painting and look at the values, the lights, the mediums, and the darks. And then squint your eyes at the reference of the dog and look at the values and see what you're missing. And the most important values are the lights and the darks. And you can almost skip the mediums, I think, in a dog like this and just put in a few little textures of the curls. I do show how you can do that in my poodle tutorial. My poodle tutorial is one of the most exhaustively complete tutorials. I mean, it's like almost like a mini course. I mean, I put so much work into that. And so you will learn so many painting principles watching that tutorial, even if you don't care about painting a poodle. So I highly recommend watching it in sections, in 20-minute sections, because your brain only can absorb about 20 minutes worth of rich information. And that tutorial is very rich. But if you watch it when your brain is fresh and just really absorb the information, you'll learn so much. And don't skip any of the parts because it's all important. But the main thing, Helen, that I would say to focus on is making sure you have in your dark shapes. You've got beautiful underpainting. I love your underpainting. You did a great job getting so many textures and colors and character. And wouldn't you hate to cover up too much of that? So what you want to do is just paint the bare minimum next, in my opinion, to get in the most important dark shapes. We're not talking about individual shapes that are parts of the anatomy. Like in our human brain, our non-artist brain, we think of the shapes as this is the nose, and that is a shape. Here is my nose, and here is the eye. That is its own shape. That's thinking like a non-artist. But when you start thinking like an artist, you want to think in terms of value shapes. So let's look over here at the values, the dark values, and you can see a shape of dark value going like this. Right over the eye, right across, there's this curl, and then it goes around the eye like this, around the muzzle furs, and all that is a dark shape. And you paint that dark shape, as opposed to over here on the painting, what you have is a dark eye. But if you squint at the reference, you don't even see the round eyes. You just see that dark shape that makes up the whole eye and the surrounding area around the eye. If you squint, the eyes, the darkness of the eyes melt into the darkness of the shadow created by these furs that are over the eye area. So as an artist, you want to paint more of those larger shadow shapes and try to get out of thinking, here's an eye, I'm going to paint this dark round eye. Because then you lose the character of this big, bushy, furry, it's like a huge eyebrow or something over the whole top of his eyebrow area. So look for those shapes. Again, let's look at the shape that you painted, and you actually did an excellent job with this dark shape. You're onto something here. And that's the shape you painted it. But let's look at the actual shape. Let's go over here, and it's a little bit deeper like that, and it goes around some lights. And so let's look at those shapes, and they're a little different. So see how this shape is higher, And this is more long and narrow shape the way you've got it, Helen. And this is more of a rectangle shape. So look at those shapes and try to not look at them as this is my dog's mouth. Think in terms of just what is this shape? This is more of a shape like that. And you've got this area more of a shape like that. So that's two different shapes. So if you start looking at the shapes instead of trying to think in terms of drawing his mouth area, you might get your shapes more accurate. And one of the tricks that you can use is to turn your reference and your painting upside down so you actually see the shapes, and your brain, it makes your brain shut up and stop saying, I'm painting a mouth. And it helps your brain say, I'm painting this shape that is kind of more of a rectangle than a longer rectangle. It's more of a wider rectangle. This is a wide rectangle, very roughly, and this is a long rectangle that you have here. I'm simplifying a lot, but I hope you can see what I mean. And if you squint your eyes, starting at about here, there is the cast shadow, and it goes up here and around like that. And that's all one shadow shape. The dog melts into the shadow, and that's where you can get dreaminess. See how this is not about a dog? It's about seeing the shadow shapes, seeing the value shapes instead of, oh, this is a dog or this is a cat. It's just simply, what are the shadow shapes? What are the shapes? What are the highlight shapes too, of course? Like here's his white shoulder. I'm painting very roughly, but there's this whole light shape that goes through here, It's just shapes. So whether you're painting a portrait or a dog or a fish or a wrench, it's all the same idea. You're looking at shapes. Like here's a negative shape of value in the background that makes an interesting abstracted dark shape that can become part of the composition. That's why I love when a reference actually has these architectural elements that are from the room, because look at these straight lines and how they break up all this organic craziness. This is a very organic dog. And I find the juxtaposition of an organic shape of a dog or an animal against windows and indoor elements can really be a nice balance. So that's another way to look at composing a painting. A lot of times your reference will give you some nice elements in the background that can make an interesting layout and an interesting design, because this dog is up and down, right? And you've got you started here and you simplified it very nicely, and that's fine. And see how this is going across the dog, and the dog is up and down, and that's a nice juxtaposition of energy. It's like a Christmas present. You don't wrap the bow and the ribbon just vertically. You do it vertical and horizontal, because it's nice to have a vertical element balanced with a horizontal element. So you're onto something with that as well. But your reference already gives you some of these elements, which is more like this. So if you added some of these background, more angular and straight edges in the background, it would balance out your painting nicely as well if you want to include them. All right. I think that's enough. I think you're off to a beautiful start, Helen, and this is a beautiful dog. I'm so sorry for your loss. They become our best friends, and it's just heart-wrenching, and nobody really, I know how it feels, like nobody can really truly understand, oh, it was your dog. No, it was my best friend, and it's so hard, and my heart goes out to you for your loss, so I'm so sorry. But I can already truly see the love you have for this dog. You put more time in this painting, you put more energy and love in this painting. I can see it. So I think, Helen, with you too, it would be a good thing to learn to slow down. Slow down and take your time to get the underlying shapes and drawing accurate, to give a sense of reality to your work if that's where you want to go with your work, if that's where you're wanting to go. And overall, just absolutely gorgeous already. Your dog is already glowing, and your background is soft and beautiful. And I like the color combination of the blues with the yellows. It's just gorgeous already. So you are off to a good start. So carry on. And I hope this was helpful. Now go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.